All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new studio by Connected Through Strength. I'm Erin. Thank you so much for joining me for this short video on different ways to incorporate different arm options throughout your yoga classes. This is an area I think is overlooked in a lot of classes. I feel like most classes really focus on just arms up or hands at the heart. Maybe they add in a bind here and there, but honestly, I think the upper body gets often neglected in a class in terms of stretching and strengthening other than just holding the arms out. So today we're going to go through quite a lot of options that you can add in to different poses in different styles of classes to really help round out your entire yoga class sequence. First and foremost, there are the two basic. One, arms up. So shoulders are down, wrapping your elbows and hands in, ribs are in, slight press of the hips, and you're lifting up through the chest. That's number one. Obviously, you can do this in most yoga poses. Warrior lunge, crescent lunge, chair pose. Number two, most basic, is hands at the heart. Other people like to call this also Samasthiti, so equal balance pose, pressing into your hands with equal pressure and power, and it helps ignite the core. So those are the first two. They tend to be the ones that most people use in class. However, there's so many more, so let's dive into those. Next up, and I'm going in an order that's a little bit here and there, so these aren't necessarily progressing in terms of intensity. It's going to be a little bit more up and down. So one that I always like to incorporate in a class, if you have a strap, is going back and forth. You can do this seated. You can do this standing. Obviously, for best practice, you would want to encourage everybody to stagger so that they're not hitting each other. And then you can also sway behind you. It's not about having your hands super close. You actually want them wider than your shoulders. And then as you get a little bit more open and spacious, hands can come closer together. But obviously, you're going to lose some of that range of motion. Best practice as well is to hold the clip part in one of your hands if you're sitting, so that way it's not hitting the floor over and over and over again, because that's really annoying. We're going to come back to the strap, and we'll also use a towel as options today. Number 4, we have what I like to call cactus arms. There's 3 versions. One is basic pulling down. So that's opening up the chest, activating the triceps, pulling the shoulder blades together. Cactus arms number 2, pulling the elbows and the hands to touch. So these are great not just for heart openers, but also for stretching out the space between your shoulders. 3, you're going to, instead of going down, you're going to pull back. So your hands come forward and you're pulling your elbows back behind you. Still pressing your hips a little forward, lengthening through the spine. So those are the 3 cactus options. And these are great. You can do these in Warrior 2, chair pose, mountain pose, Warrior 1, and so forth. Next up, I'm going to stop counting because I feel like it gets a little bit hard to keep track. We have side body stretch. So this is a nice option you can do in most standing poses, even seated. But not only is it giving your side body a stretch, but it's actually getting into the armpit, so getting into the serratus, anterior and posterior, and the delts. Next up from there is actually a tricep stretch. Now, I personally have some neck issues from a car accident many moons ago, so I can only do it with half of the bind. So it's the one where you pull your elbow up and you give yourself that stretch, pulling the elbow slightly behind you, making sure you do it on both sides. And that actually bothers my neck muscles, and I cannot do the full where you grab with the hand. But I always like to show in classes that if you'd like, you can take a strap or towel, bend the arm behind you, and then grab on with the opposite hand and pull down. That feels so good. I did arms today, so this just feels necessary. So that is going to be targeting 1, the rotator cuff and the mobility, 2, the tricep as well. This is a great stretch to do, especially at the end of maybe a vinyasa class after you've done a lot of chaturangas. Now, two of the most common upper body options that I see in classes, I haven't even gotten to, is a full bind. So that's where you interlace your hands behind you, roll your shoulders back, and you pull your hands slightly away from you. Now you can do the same thing forward and round your back. And it's actually really nice to do those together because then you're getting both the front and back of the body. Now, the other main one is going to be our eagle arms. So, one elbow under, you're lifting your elbows up in line with your shoulders as much as you can. And then either, I like to say, give yourself a hug or a high five, where you're pulling the hands up. And technically, you want to try to have your elbows as high as your shoulders, hands in line with elbows, creating that 90-degree bend. So you're getting that nice opening in the upper mid-back. However, it definitely constricts the front of the body. So especially if you have any type of students, maybe with a bit of a larger chest or more space in front of them, that can be really intense. So maybe just having them bring hands and elbows together instead. Moving on, so many options. We have many different types of binds to open the front of the body. So if you'd like, you can try this with me. This is one of my favorites. Take your hand, grab your opposite elbow, and then you would drop your head away from that arm. So if I'm taking my right arm, I'm going to be dropping my head away to the left. There we go. So what you're doing is stretching out the neck. Same thing on the other side. So whatever arm you're really getting into that neck stretch, you can try both ways if you'd like. I usually like to incorporate that one either sitting or in mountain pose because it's a little confusing. And I usually face the same direction as my students so that there's not any confusion in terms of which way to drop your head. As you can see, I even got confused for this video. Next up, we have reverse prayer. So another one behind the back. You're going to literally, so one option is to grab your opposite forearms. This, I can feel this in my chest and my pecs especially. You can also take your hands together, pressing your palms towards each other and pulling your elbows back. So this is a really nice one to stretch out your forearms and your wrists as well as your shoulders and chest. I will say in terms of intensity for most people, grabbing opposite forearm is easier than full reverse prayer. It's also an option to use a strap for any of this or a towel even behind you to get that expansiveness. All right, so those are the main yoga, I want to say, arm options. I also, as some of you know, I am a personal trainer, bar instructor, and so much more. So I'm going to give you other options that are a little bit more intense, a little bit more exercise focused, that you can add into pretty much any standing pose. So let's say, for example, you're in a warrior one stance and you want to add a little upper body fun. One, you can do the cactus pose we did earlier. Two, you can do a low row, pulling the arms back. So this is great for strengthening triceps, back of the arms, and stretching the biceps, especially at the front. So another option is to actually pull back and then open and compress together. So this is great for the chest, pec major, pec minor, and that front deltoid, as well as stretching and activating upper mid-back. Now, a couple other options, I call these mid-flies, is bringing your hands together and pulling back behind you. Obviously, make sure people aren't hitting each other, please. And then finally, that higher fly. So cactus, I usually do lower, elbows under shoulders, but a high fly is going to have elbows in line with shoulders. It's about 1 inch or 2 difference for most people, but you can really feel it. This higher up is harder than this lower down, okay? So those are a few options you can incorporate. In terms of a warrior 2 option I love is what many of us call the bow and arrow. So you would literally pull your back hand to the front, pull back like you're pulling a bow, release and reach up, back and around. So nice thing about this is you're getting in a little bit of that upper body rotation And then obviously you would do it on the other side. So you would pull, reach, and around. All right. I think that went by really fast. We got through a ton of upper body options that you can incorporate into most standing and seated yoga poses. When in doubt, as a reminder for best practices, try not to overcomplicate things. Try to show, especially the first time you're doing something, try to face the same direction, and always, if you're facing your students, mirror them, please. It's just easier for them to follow along. And then finally, when in doubt, if something feels weird or off, just don't do it. Or in doubt, do it in a mountain or just seated pose. Those are two of the most basic areas that you can just add a little bit of fun and flair more safely because there's less going on with the lower body. All right, my friends, I hope you found this interesting and informative, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.